Fallout New Vegas is a masterpiece of a game. However, it's hard to appreciate the brilliant dialogue, world building, storytelling, and immersion the game gives when there's constant bugs, crashing, and overall instability. So today we're going to fix almost all issues with the game with the best mod pack out there. That is Viva New Vegas. It's a pretty well-known guide, however those who have heard of this project may not be aware that there is a mostly automated system in place, now thanks to Webbajack. Regardless of this automation, there are some things we need to set up and ensure are correct prior to installation. This mod pack contains so many mods in it, I can't really go over each one. Primarily because I'm lazy, but also because it's pretty mundane to do so. This mod pack essentially fixes and improves the game. Regardless, there is an extended version of this mod pack that I should go over as it does have some drastic changes. The extended version essentially makes the game a vanilla plus experience, and keep in mind it's completely optional. The actual changes, in my opinion, fix a lot of annoyances the game has. In other words, it includes a ton of quality of life changes. This includes a far superior map zooming system, the HUD color changes based off circumstance, such as the condition of your AP or health. There is a much more detailed stat screen. You run slower in water, your bobby pin health is persistent, and yeah, I'm sure you get it. It makes changes that simply make sense. Otherwise, if you don't like these changes, you can end up using the regular version of this mod pack, which is an overall much more vanilla experience. Regardless, I'm going to be talking a bit more of these new features from the extended version. If you're not interested, you can skip to the next section of the video. And now we're going to go ahead and move to visuals. You have a typical weather mod, which I'm normally on the fence about as most mods don't do a faithful job, but this one really does. It maintains the classic New Vegas feel while still giving the game immense flavor in terms of colors and vibes, the DLCs especially. There's also this character mod which is genuinely so good, especially with Joshua or Elijah. On top of those, there are dozens of changes for animations, movements, and inertia. They all tie in to make the gunplay feel incredibly smooth. Finally, there is an overhaul to the LODs, and it's just great. A cherry on top of this beautiful cake. In terms of gameplay adjustments, there are a few here. So we'll just do a little speed run of my favorites. There's now sprinting, weapon recoil, dynamic crosshairs, cookable grenades, a Fallout 4-esque loot menu, diagonal movement, hit indicators, and much more. There are also a shit ton of balance tweaks. Some of these have actually been done by one of the original developers of the game, the legend Joshua Sawyer. Anyway, these essentially boil down to making the game more hardcore and slower paced, which of course really works well in an open world RPG. Key features include lower health and beginning carrying weight, slower leveling and a lower level cap. Then there's some pretty big weight changes as well, such as stim packs actually weighing something, which is huge for hardcore mode. The loot from the DLCs that's typically just given to you outside of Doc Mitchell's house is instead placed around the map. There are even more changes to things such as the hardcore mode's needs, the amount of health you get from stats like endurance. I mean, you could really go on and on with what these changes are. Once the mod pack is set and installed, you can actually get in-game and open the mod configurator from the pause menu to get a more in-depth look, as well as customize what's actually happening with these mods. Now let's get into setting the pack up. First up, I would recommend having the game from Steam, more specifically the Ultimate Edition, as the DLCs are required. You could have this version from Epic or GOG, but I love Steam, so I'm biased towards that instead. Also, if you have the Epic version, you can't really do the automated version of this guide, and would have to painstakingly do it yourself manually. So again, I just recommend Steam. If you've installed this game before, and especially if you've modded it, it's recommended to uninstall it for now, as we will need to move it elsewhere soon and ensure it's completely clean. When you're uninstalling the game, you can uninstall it officially, but also make sure you go back to where the game was located and ensure there's no leftover modded files if you did mod it before. Anyway, the only other requirements I'll mention are advising to use a program such as 7-zip, which is an archiving tool typically used to open files ending with .zip, .7z, etc., as well as having a Nexus Premium account. You'll need a Nexus account regardless as it's used to download the mods, but I recommend Premium as it will make the downloading process much faster by uncapping speeds and allowing automatic downloads. Not having it will mean later you need to manually click download for each mod. Currently it's priced at $8.99 for the monthly and $7.50 per month for the yearly. I would just go with the monthly, as unless you're going to be using Nexus for various other games and thus using it frequently enough, you can cancel this after the video and thus not be stuck with a year-long subscription. Again, this is not required but simply recommended. Something that is required are the Visual C++ redistributables. Now you most likely already have this, but in case you don't, you can download it, open up the file with 7-zip, make an empty folder, and then just extract everything into that folder. After that, you can run the install all file as an administrator. When it's done, it's going to automatically close, and then you can just delete the folder you created before. Let's enable file name extensions. This will make your computer life a lot less confusing, including for this guide. You can enable it as seen on screen. Now we need to disable base address randomization. It's a Windows security feature that randomizes program starting addresses, which can typically cause crashes in 32-bit games like Viva New Vegas. It's usually disabled by default, but just to double check, open Windows Security, App and Browser Control, Exploit Protection Settings, and ensure Force Randomization for images is off. Upon actually installing the game, you will need to ensure it's located outside of system folders. These include program files, your desktop, etc. This is recommended for any games or programs you intend to mod, so I would just make a folder at the root of your drive called Games or something and install your future games there. If you only have one drive set up on your computer, you can use the Steam Library Setup tool and create an additional slot to install your games, as seen here. Keep note where your games are located, as we will need to access it later on. Once it's actually installed, make sure you run the game once, and you should get a pop-up talking about detecting hardware. If so, that's good. Otherwise, you can head to this location and delete all of the INI files and reopen the game once, granting the message. Now this isn't only to generate INI files, it's also to save time later. Now let's go ahead and actually install this beautiful mod pack. First up, create an empty folder for the mod pack program we'll be using, Wabbajack, somewhere on your computer, yet again outside of system folders. Download Wabbajack and put the .exe file in that folder you just made. Now run that exe file. Open the settings tab and sign into Nexus Mods at the top left here. I personally log into Mega as well, just in case it's needed. Create one more empty folder and name it Viva New Vegas. This is of course where the mod pack will actually be installed. We also need to create a virus exclusion for this particular folder. If you have some active virus program that's going on, such as Malwarebytes or God forbid McAfee, you'll need to create an exclusion for those. In this case, and hopefully yours, you can just do it in the official Windows Security. Head to Virus and Threat Protection Settings, Manage Settings, Add or Remove Exclusions, and then set one for your Viva New Vegas folder. Next, in Wabbajack, browse the mod list and find Viva New Vegas and hit Download. Set the installation folder to the folder you just created, and then begin the install and accept any requests you get from Nexus. If you did not get Premium, this is where you'll be for the next 5 years, hitting download on each mod. It's actually not too bad with this particular pack. You could put a video, audiobook, or an album on while going through this process. Eventually you get an installation complete screen. There are only a few mods here that you will need to manually install, but don't worry, it's really easy. Just head to the Viva New Vegas folder you made earlier and open the Files Requiring Manual Install folder and copy everything. Head to where your game is located and paste everything there, replacing if asked to. Run the Follow New Vegas patch.exe file and you should get some message like this. This will allow the game to use up to 4 GB of RAM. If all is well, you'll get a backup of your original exe file in your game's folder. Head back to your Viva New Vegas folder and run the decompressor exe file. All required paths should be automatically filled because we ran the game earlier. If they're not, try to run the game again and then come back once your settings are automatically calibrated. Now you have to wait quite some time for the files to decompress. You can now open the mod organizer exe found in this folder. Now you're going to get a few pop-ups. One for a tutorial, which you can either hit yes or no to, and then one for follow nv_lang, and then a register one. You can hit yes to both of those. If you prefer a more vanilla plush playthrough, you can head up to the profile and set it to the extended section. I went over a plethora of the features earlier if you're curious. To launch the game, you'll have New Vegas selected here, and then you just click run. To make this process a little easier, you can make a shortcut of the mod organizer program with this here to your desktop. Now, despite the fact you're not really running the game from Steam, it will count as running it through Steam. That means you can have the overlay, your hours will be counted, and you can get achievements as well. To adjust your game settings, change New Vegas default launcher instead. To adjust even more settings, you can hit the configure icon here and hit INI editor. If you don't see all the options, hit the ID icon to edit your current profile and ensure all of these boxes are checked. Now, you can technically run the game now, but I would also advise two more things. They're included in the Viva New Vegas guide as a performance guide. It's basically DXVK and limiting your FPS. This guide includes a bunch of shit, but I personally only follow the DXVK part. It has some notable information which may help you, but to keep things simple for the average user, just download DXVK as a manual download and put it in your main directory, and that's it. Finally, the last thing I do is limit my FPS. You can actually just use your GPU's game settings, or at least that's what I do. I open the NVIDIA control panel, program settings, follow New Vegas, FPS limit, and then I set it to 60, or you can set it to 59 if you want to be a bit safer. The guide I mentioned goes over using alternatives like VSync, G-Sync, and even RivaTuner, but my approach worked for me and I personally don't use VSync. Again, the guide is linked below if you're interested in the other options. And that's about it. Go enjoy this once-in-a-lifetime game. Anyway, bye.